Hello everybody, this is Ryan over at High Carb Regenerator. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to actually talk about something that's kind of food related, but not 100% food related, and that is our over-consumerism. And that is the one thing, I guess I spilled the beans right at the beginning, but that is the one thing, that is the reason I made that title, the one thing that can actually help your health in the long run. And over-consumerism is taking over the place. Now, this actually comes from a book that my ex sent me a picture of the other day. I think it's the 5 lessons of how to be a millionaire or something like that. I'll put a screenshot of the cover of the book here. It's really good. I got it on Audible myself. It's less than 2 hours. So if you're somebody who walks a lot in a day, you can plug in, listen to the entire book in one day. It does have some PDFs, so you can go on the computer, and look up the PDFs, or you can actually buy the book. Imagine that, go to the store, buy a book, or go to the library, rent the book, whatever. Read the book, but it reminds me of some of my old past and some of where I have come to now. And the number one thing that I notice with people is clothing. They think that clothing makes them, they think that clothing is, and it might, I guess, you are not your clothing. You're not what you wear. You are completely beyond that. But people identify themselves as to what they wear and how they wear it and how many clothes they have. And they'll buy, one of the things that, that the ex, her name is Sandy, by the way. I'm not going to give her last name because she'll freak out. I can't believe you just did that. But, so anyway, we used to watch HGTV at night, and one of the things that we always commented on is these enormous closets these people think they need to have. And I'm like, why? I guarantee they've got clothes in here that they don't even know they've got. They're never going to wear it again. And that reminds me of something that I used to do myself. And I used to buy a ton of clothing, like when I first started working back in the mid 90s. Well, I started working around 93, so I guess it's kind of early 90s. I used to literally spend $1,200 a month in just clothes alone because I had a job. And I'm like, I know this will make me happy. And it doesn't. I realized after years of doing this, I wouldn't even, the reason this actually started was I had this girl. I can't believe I let her get into my psyche, where I pretended I didn't, but it kind of got into my psyche. I had this girl come up to me, and I used to get sick quite often because my diet wasn't that great. I used to get sick quite often, so I wasn't feeling that well. And this girl comes up to me and she's like, you wore that shirt 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. I said, don't ever talk to me again. I said, if this is stupid shit that's going to come out of your mouth, I don't want you to talk to me again. So then the boyfriend comes up to me and he's like, what did you just say to my girlfriend? I said, I'm going to say the same thing that I'm going to say to you. Never talk to me again. You guys are stupid. And he's like, I wanted to fight. And I'm like, dude, you weigh as much as you weigh as much as my leg. It's not going to go well for you, right? So that triggered something in me, and I'm like, oh, the only reason the only way to be happy in this school system, because it had, is to buy new clothes and never wear the same clothes again. And I did that, and then I realized how unhappy it was making me, and I luckily I saved all those clothes because it was all Abercrombie and Old Nautica and Old Tommy Hilfiger, and that stuff sold for so much more than I bought it for this past couple of years. So I'm glad I saved it. I'm glad I did it. I can't believe how much that stuff sells for. I mean, I bought a Tommy Hilfiger, the real famous one that was cut down the middle. I know this has nothing to do with the video, but cut down the middle, different colors. I think I bought it for $75 in the 90s. That shit sold for like $500. I like last year or something. Crazy. But anyway, beside the point. So people do this kind of stuff, and clothes and consumerism is becoming the new plastic. There's not enough room in these landfills to go around. We used to average something like 1,100 square feet for a family in a house, and now it's like 3,000 or 4,000. And what are you doing with it? Everybody's miserable. You can see it on everybody's face. They're walking around like that, on the keto diet. Oh, can't have that sugar. And meanwhile, They're miserable. They could solve all their problems with a bag of white stuff, the sugar, you know. They try to solve it with a bag of the other white stuff, and it doesn't work out too well. You know, you start looking like a crackhead because you are a crackhead. And you've got to realize that buying all of this stuff. Oh, the reason I actually brought up Sandy is because she's a pet sitter. And one of the comments she used to make to me was that people would treat their dog's food way better than their own food. She, you know, she would have to go into the cupboards and stuff to get the dog food or cat food or whatever the animal was that she was feeding. And she would see all this crap that they buy for themselves, you know, the cheese puffs, the Taco Bell, you know, label stuff, the Ortega, all the garbage, right? You know, lunch meat and the cheapest of the cheapest of the cheapest. And I'm not saying that you got to spend a lot of money on your diet, but if you had a diet that I think a lot of people do the over consumerism because they're miserable because of how they feel and how they look in the mirror. So they're trying to keep their dogs and cats healthy. Meanwhile, they think that a pill is going to solve their issues, and it's not. So if they would just focus on themselves and how to get themselves happy, and unfortunately this translates into their kids. Their kids are like little circles with heads on them, which is what I've been accused of on this channel a couple times. And I'm not. I lifted for 20 years. I still got, I'm a big dude. What it is. Like I literally, with, you know, measuring around the not fat area of me, am 55 inches around. I'm not a small guy. So but these people are unhealthy. They're obese. They don't know why they're so fat, but they're following the keto just like everybody else that think they are. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And to make up for this, they buy more and more and more stuff, but it's not making anybody any happier because all they got to do now is work more overtime and they're not saving any money for themselves. So, you know, all they got to do is literally just buy some of the cheapest food on the planet, like potatoes, like the video I posted, what was it, on Friday or something like that? I got a little over 15 pounds of bananas, and I got 10 pounds of potatoes for $7.50 or $7.26 or something. $7.26, I think it was. And, you know, that would last somebody, you know, a day or two. You know, if you're eating this diet, yeah, it's a lot of volume of food, but you realize, like I realized yesterday, because I started not doing smoothies, I started making bananas or eating just bananas, how much weight is actually in the peel. So I don't know how much of the actual weight of a banana is actually the stuff that you actually eat. Now, I know if it's organic, you can't eat the peel. I don't know why anybody would do that. But the point of this video is to really look at where you're spending your money. Would you rather spend your money on your health? Because a lot of these people, you can have all the clothes in the world, but if your health goes downhill, those clothes aren't saving you. And you know, you can't take this stuff with you when you go, you know, like you can get buried in one of your outfits, but the rest, they're going to somebody else or just getting thrown in the landfill because they don't like your style. So pay attention to this stuff. Do you have clothes and stuff? Like for example, me, the one habit I can't kick is I'm essentially a game collector. Like I see a game that I want coming out. I'm like, oh, gotta have that. Meanwhile, I've got I get so many games everywhere that they're not even out of the wrapper. They're probably eventually, I'm just going to hold on to them until I know they're worth a lot of money and I'm just going to sell them because I don't care about collecting games. I don't care about any of this kind. I'm never going to play the game. It's just collecting dust. So I'm the guy that's just, you know, I'll hold on to this stuff forever and then I'll just sell it because I have no emotional attachment to any item that there is. So I don't have emotional, so I get rid of this stuff. And you have to get to that point where you just have no emotional whatsoever attachment because the memory of whatever it is that this item might have for you or the goal or the achievement or whatever it is that is attached to this item of yours is all in your head. It's a memory. It's intangible. It's in there. But the tangible item is not that memory. So just get rid of it. And you'll find the weight will come off. The emotional weight will come off, and maybe even some weight that you've been holding on to because of some of these emotions that are attached to some of these items that you keep around your house constantly. So I think one of the best things to do is, because back in the day, like I said, I was spending $1,200 a week or a month, I mean, on clothes, and it didn't make me any happier. I didn't have enough time to be happy because I worked myself to death when I was in my teens and 20s. I was working sometimes 70 hours a week and going to school full time. It was ridiculous. Just because, you know, and at that time, I mean, I was making a ton of money. I can't complain, you know, like I legit, I mean, I was paying for college. I was buying all these clothes. I had a car. I bought it cash. I mean, so yeah, I had money, but I really didn't have enough time to even find out what makes me happy. And still to this day, I don't know what that really is. So when I was growing up, instead of like going through the normal phases of life, you know, where you kind of realize what it is that you're doing, I was at work. And so a lot of people do this to themselves, even still to this day. They're at work because they got to maintain all that shit they bought. That, you know, like this house, even by myself, like this 3-bedroom house, I really don't need it. It just kind of worked out that I ended up here because of prior financial issues. Not of my own, you know, which is the craziest part, but I know I've made videos about this before, but really examine yourself, like really examine what it is that would make you happy. Is it being healthy? Like Kate Moss said, there's no food in the world that tastes better than being skinny. Like the feeling of being skinny. You know, if skinny is your goal, skinny isn't 100% my goal. I just want to get the fat off. Like I'm never going to be skinny. Like I've never been that skinny guy. I just want to be able to probably see, you know, muscles and stuff like that. I have no aspirations of looking like Durianrider or somebody like that. It does nothing for me. So, but it does something for him because this is how he makes his living. And it's kind of is where I'm starting to make my living too. But I don't think everybody on here wants to be bone ripped like he is, 3% body fat. I think most people would be happy in that 8 to 10 or 8 to 12 or whatever, under 15% body fat, especially women. It looks so much better when you're in like the low teens. I don't, some of these women, they get down to like 7, 8%. But, I mean, there's guys that are into that, but you know, or whatever. And, it's just a matter of taking things into perspective. Get your health back in order, and you'll start realizing, because actually that's one of the things that happened to me. I started weightlifting, and I realized that health thing that I thought was healthy, like, you know, the weightlifting and just going to the gym and just being that person that I knew I could be. Like I could never really run because of this foot, but boy, could I lift. And it did take a part of that. I got to impress other people. I mean, I never lifted to impress other people. I only lifted to impress myself. That's why I did go to competitions. I would watch the competitions, and I lifted at a competition, not to compete, but I wanted to know exactly how much I was squatting, deadlifting, and benching, because they have those exact weights that are like exactly perfect weights, so I could kind of have an idea of where I was. I couldn't care less about placing. That's for other people. That's, you know, they got to please their ego. I'm not saying that I don't have an ego. Anybody who knows me that knows that it's a lie. But my ego doesn't care about beating other people in any capacity, really. So, so yeah, I would do some of that stuff. But I realized that going down that path was so much more. And it just embodied me so much more than the clothes. So I stopped caring, to the point where other people started buying me clothes because they're like, dude, your clothes are like, they're in bad shape. And they're like, you got all these other clothes. I'm like, no, this is going to be worth something one day. I don't want to ruin them. And, so, you know, mom and dad basically started, in like for, you know, Christmas and birthday, they started buying me clothes because they're like, you just, all you care about is this lifting. But I loved it, right? This is where I went. And I think if you find something like that, it doesn't have to be lifting. It doesn't have to be cycling. It doesn't have to be any kind of thing like that. Maybe it's hiking, or maybe it's not physical activity at all. Maybe it's just making food videos or whatever it is. Find that thing, and you'll realize that the stuff that occupies so much of your time, the things that just pile up, they don't mean anything anymore. And you can downsize your house. Maybe, you know, maybe you have a bunch of kids or something like that and you really can't. But if you don't, and you got like this 5-bedroom house just because you got all this stuff that you carry around with you, and you find something that you really like to do and it just occupies your time and you don't really need a lot of stuff to do it, or maybe you do and you can sell all this stuff that you don't need anymore, and you can, you know, like say if you wanted a cooking thing, you need a mixer and all that kind of stuff, but just examine where you're at with this whole thing, because this consumerism is really getting out of hand. I unfortunately am a part of it because I design clothes for t-shirts and apparel and stuff, and the whole time I'm doing it, I'm like thinking this is becoming worse than plastic. There's just clothes everywhere. You know, these thrift stores can't handle it anymore. They're throwing the stuff out at this point, and it's getting out of hand, and it's all because of how miserable we are. So all you had to do is add a little sugar into your diet, a lot of sugar into your diet, and I think you would notice a whole world of difference. And sugar's cheap right now. That could change, who knows, but it's just really, you got to put this into perspective and just seeing how much money you save over, and you can re-examine how many hours a week that you're working. Like I started refusing to work overtime at the post office, where I used to take it all the time. I used to work 12, 14 hours a day. And I'm like, you know what? I just don't care anymore. And they got so mad, and I don't care. It's their problem, not mine. You know, get as mad as you need to. I'm going home in 8 hours. So peace. And, you know, it is what it is. So anyway, so you can re-examine yourself, and I think that's it. You know, I could go on, I could ramble on forever, but I think I said what I needed to say. I hope this video did you some good. If it did, share it. It really helps out. Comment questions down below. Like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time.